tired of this. Get out of my house.
Tonight, we are exploring 3 real possession cases so violent and so deeply documented that seasoned investigators, priests, and even police officers refuse to step inside the homes a second time. These are encounters where something spoke, something moved, and something intelligent answered questions it shouldn't have known. If you're new here, welcome to the Lost Tapes 404. And these are 3 real-life possession cases that left experts shaken. It began as a simple haunting inside a small home in South Shields, England. A mother, a father, and their young son. Nothing unusual, no history of violence, no paranormal interest, just a normal family. Then the toys started moving. At first, the parents thought their son was waking up early and playing with them, until one morning they found a plush toy sitting upright at the foot of their bed, facing them, even though their son was asleep in another room. They brushed it off. The next morning, there were more toys lined up in the hallway, as if something had placed them there. One afternoon, a plastic toy smashed into the husband's head with enough force to leave a welt. Nobody else was in the room. Every window was shut. The activity escalated fast. Doors slammed on their own. Furniture shook. The temperature dropped and rose as if something was moving through the house. But the real terror began with the child. He woke up screaming that someone had grabbed his ankles. When the parents turned on the lights, the boy had fresh scratches running down his legs. The marks were long and thin and looked like they came from fingertips, not nails. That was when the investigators were called in. During one session, objects flew across the room in full view of both investigators. A chair slid violently against the floor. A drawer opened by itself. Then a small toy doll moved and positioned itself behind the husband while everyone else was frozen in shock. The investigators said the strangest part was the intelligence behind it. This was not random. It was timed, purposeful. It wanted attention. Days later, the family began receiving text messages from an unknown number. The messages threatened them, mocked them, and referenced things that only someone inside their home could know. No origin was ever found. The messages stopped as suddenly as they began. The final event happened during a night when the child was asleep. The mother heard footsteps on the stairs, heavy, slow. She called out, but nobody answered. Then she saw the shadow first. A tall, thin, human shape standing at the top of the stairway that did not belong to anyone in the house. It turned, it looked at her, then it vanished. The investigators refused to return. They said the case didn't behave like a haunting at all. It behaved like a possession, slow, calculated, and focused on the child, as if something was testing how much control it could take one day at a time. The family moved away soon after, leaving the house and whatever was in it behind. But what happened in that quiet English home almost feels gentle compared to what was unfolding thousands of miles away in the heart of Mexico City. In the mid-1990s, a teenage girl named Maria started hearing whispers in her bedroom at night, soft at first, then clearer. She said the voice sounded like a man calling her name from the corner of the room where the shadows never seemed to move. Her parents dismissed it until her behavior changed. She would freeze for long periods of time. Her eyes would roll upward. She began speaking in a deeper voice. Her parents said the voice sounded older than anyone in the house, as if someone else was speaking through her. Then came the physical changes. Her body temperature dropped so low that the local priest recorded it as under 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Her limbs stiffened. She spoke phrases in Latin, even though she had no education beyond basic school lessons. During prayer sessions, she reacted violently. Whenever holy water touched her skin, she screamed in a voice that shook the walls. She cursed at the priest, calling out personal details about his childhood that she should have never known. Neighbors reported hearing furniture slamming against walls. They saw objects move behind windows when nobody else was inside. The local church assigned multiple priests to the case. They witnessed her levitate several inches off her bed during a ritual. They said her body bent in ways no human spine should. The most disturbing moment happened during a late-night session. Maria suddenly sat upright and muttered a phrase in an ancient dialect. One of the priests recognized it as a burial prayer from centuries earlier. She then smiled at him with a calm expression and said, in a voice that was not hers, that she'd been waiting for them long before Maria was born. That was when the priest stepped back and refused to continue. He said the intelligence behind that voice was not trying to mimic a demon. It behaved as if it were something older, patient, and aware of every person inside that room. The family left Mexico City shortly after the final ritual. Maria remembered nothing, but the priests remembered everything. They admitted they had never confronted an intelligence like this, something that spoke in languages she never learned, and shifted the air in the room as easily as breathing. And yet, even this wasn't the peak, because the next case is one of the most documented possessions in modern history, and almost no one knows the darkest parts of it. Everyone knows the Enfield Poltergeist, but almost nobody knows the part that investigators tried to keep quiet, the possession element. In 1977, the Hodgson family began experiencing strange disturbances inside their modest London home. Loud knocks echoed through the night. Furniture scraped across the floor by itself. Toys and marbles were hurled across rooms by unseen hands. But the real terror centered on 11-year-old Janet Hodgson. It started with her voice. She would slip into deep trances where her expression changed. Her posture stiffened, and her tone transformed into the raspy growl of a man who called himself Bill.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Margaret's sleeping and talking. Wow. Wow, sleep. Mr. Brown fell asleep and he's talking. Sound. Hello. Love food.
Mr. Gross! Mr. Gross! Quick! Mr. Gross!
Yeah.
Oh, something. I was in the drawer. I'm so sorry.
Who?
Margaret. She was not asleep.
Margaret what?
She's not asleep.
Witnesses said she spoke without moving her lips. Audio experts later discovered overlapping frequencies, proof that two distinct voices were being produced from her throat at once. Janet began describing what she called her ceiling view. She said that during her trances, she could see herself and her family from above, watching them from the light fixtures. It was as if something had pulled her spirit out of her body. Multiple witnesses, including neighbors, journalists, and even police officers, reported seeing Janet levitate from her bed. One officer swore in an official statement that she saw a chair slide several feet across the room with no one near it. The family, terrified and exhausted, contacted the Society for Physical Research, which sent investigators Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair. At first, they believed they were dealing with a haunting, but soon they realized something else was speaking through Janet. The most unsettling moment came during an interview when Janet suddenly turned her head toward Playfair and said, in that deep, masculine voice that he had been doubting her. Then she recited, word for word, the notes he had written privately in his sealed briefcase earlier that day. He refused to enter the home again. A photographer later captured an image of Janet midair, being thrown from her bed. He said the force looked like someone had physically grabbed her and hurled her, but every adult was several feet away. The case grew so disturbing that investigators allegedly locked away several audio tapes from public release. On those tapes, Janet reportedly speaks in multiple voices, sometimes alternating between languages she'd never learned. Even experts, who spent decades trying to debunk the Enfield case, agree on one thing. Something happened in that house that defied logic. Something intelligent. Something aware. When the investigation finally ended, the house was left quiet. But years later, new tenants reported hearing faint knocking behind the walls, as if the story wasn't over. And the investigators who once swore to uncover the truth, they never set foot inside that house again. These 3 cases were witnessed by families, investigators, priests, and even police. They documented levitation, deep voices, physical attacks, and behavior no child or teenager could possibly fake. If you want more real cases just like these, subscribe to the Lost Tapes 404. We dive deeper than the headlines and bring you the forgotten, the unexplained, and the disturbing straight to you. Because in these stories, when something speaks back, you never know who's really listening.